Hello everyone, we are here to talk about replacing the screen of our laptop. Now we can focus exactly on our LCD or LED screen here that's inside of this bezel, or we can focus on removing the entire laptop display. So we're going to go through a little bit of both. So to get started, the first thing I want to do is remove this top panel here of my laptop. This is where my power buttons are, as well as where my capacitive touch for my audio. To do that, I'm going to close my laptop lid, turn it upside down, and we have a couple screws to remove. The screws I need to worry about are going to be these three right here. So I'll remove those screws and then we'll continue. With these three screws removed, I can turn my laptop back over and I will open it up and we can take a look at removing the power and audio panel. Now to do this, we got to worry about something. There's a couple of those ZIF, zero insertion force connectors. So let's zoom in and take a look at what we can do with that. All right, with our zoomed in view, we've got our power control over here, and then we've got our audio control over there. These are both using ZIF connectors, which are a zero insertion force. So very easily and with minimal effort, I'll just take my flathead screwdriver and I'll pull up on that ZIF connector, and I can pull that ribbon cable right out. I can do it again over here for my audio control. This one's almost buried under there, but same thing. I can just pull up lightly on the ZIF connector and pull that cable right out. With the cable pulled out for both of those regarding this top panel, now I can take my flathead screwdriver and I can get in there and I can pop that panel out. With the top panel removed, we can take a look underneath and we can actually see how our laptop display is hooked on to the rest of the system. So we're going to zoom in on this and take a look at some of those screws that we can remove if we wanted to remove the entire display. Here in this top left corner, we can actually see the laptop hinge, and there is one of the Torx screws that I have to remove in order to remove this laptop display. On the other side, if I were to shift the laptop over, we'll see here's the other hinge. And again over here, this is a screw that's holding on this entire laptop display. Now that's not it, there's more. Let me back out and I'll show you. On the back side of my laptop, there's also another screw which is holding on for that laptop display with the hinge. If I slide it over on the other corner, we've got the exact same thing. Another screw that's holding that laptop hinge on. So if you did want to remove the entire laptop display, which includes the laptop top casing and all, we would remove all of those screws, then we would go to lift the display off. Before you can lift the display off, we'll take a closer look at this motherboard one more time and what's connected to it. If I had to remove those four screws holding on those hinges, two on this side and two on the other side, we wouldn't be done. I couldn't just lift it off. What we have over here is the laptop LCD display cable. We would have to physically pull up on this and remove it from the connector on the system board. Also, right above that LCD display cable, I've got multiple black wires. These black wires here go for the wireless antenna that go to the top of my display. Over here on the right side, I've got multiple wires. These three wires are also for wireless antennas. Now, based off of your laptop, you might even have wires for things like microphones, as well as even for a webcam. So keep that in mind. These connectors are things that we'd remove from the wireless cards like we've done before. And we would use those connectors and uncable them from our little troughs here, which is the plastic frame, in order to be able to pull that entire display off the laptop. Now let's continue onwards talking about the exact screen itself and how we'd remove the LCD screen from my laptop. With this different view of our laptop, here we're going to take a look at removing and replacing the LCD screen itself, not the entire laptop display that we just talked about. To do this, we have these rubber pads here. My laptop has 4 of them. I will at first need to remove the rubber pads, and underneath them are screws that are holding this bezel on top of that screen. So I'll go ahead and do that now. With our zoomed in view, you can see me take my flathead screwdriver and just pop that rubber foot off, and there's that screw underneath. And I'll just zoom out and do this 3 other times. With all 4 screws exposed, now I can remove those screws and get access to the bevel of my laptop. My 4 screws are removed. Now I'm going to use my flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to lightly pry out one of the corners. Now please follow the manual for your laptop specifically. Mine requires a little bit of minimal force here to try to pry out a corner. With that corner out, I can just lightly go around this bezel, and I can just pop it out of the display. At this point at the top, I actually have to use my slider in order to unlock the laptop and remove that display, because those locks are stuck with the laptop locking mechanism. And now that my bezel is off, we have access to the LCD display, where there's lots of screws to take account here, as well as if we look closely, we'll be able to see the connectors that come down to the system board, and also the connectors that go to the inverter that's taking care of our power for our display as well. Now I've shifted the laptop so we can take a look at our display up here, and at first glance you're like, there is a lot of screws to remove to get this LCD display out of this casing. Well, oddly enough, we only have 1 screw to remove here. And then over here, we have 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me show you these 4 on the side and how we're going to access them. To access those 4 screws, I can tilt my laptop on the side, and what you actually see here, you'll see these slot covers. And these are, again, little rubber covers that we have here, but this time these are covering the screws. So we can either try to peel them off using a flathead screwdriver on this side, or what we can do is really see those screws is push the covers out from this side over here. You see it lifts the cover up. With that cover lifted up, we then take them off. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the 4 covers, then I'm going to unscrew those 4 screws and take it out the side. With our 4 screws out on the side, we can now remove our last and final screw. With the 5th screw out for my display, what I can do now is I can actually lift up this display. Now if you can't get your finger under it, it's okay to use something like a flat tool. You can just lift up. And now this display is completely detached of any screw. What's holding it in place though at the bottom is what we mentioned before. I've got my connection which goes to my inverter, and I've got my main LCD connection which goes back to the board as well. With all those removed, I'll be able to lift this display right out and put it in a new display. After dropping that new display, I would put those screws back in that we just removed, and I'd have a replaced laptop LCD screen. Make sure you consult your manual for these steps. Every laptop is going to be different, and please make sure you choose the correct specifications for the screen that you're replacing. So take your time, do your research, and become the best IT professional you can by being patient and following the correct steps.